we're going to mix up a little bit the region. We call it North Asia, but I know nobody likes to be called North Asia. So, Ivan's we're going to talk to Ivan a little bit about Japan and Korea, Seunghae a little bit about what's going on in China. Ivy works across multiple markets, so I'll probably ask you about all of them, all of the above. But Seunghae, thanks for your presentation. I wanted to ask you a little bit about, you talked about the rapid emergence of short-form video apps. I know micro-content, live streaming, these are emerging even faster in China than many of the Western markets. What's driving this trend? What's the key factor? And do these formats, micro-content, live streaming, short form, do they complement each other or do they compete?
Actually, these are started from mobile internet. 2014, mobile internet surpassed the PC users, and this is the big kind of a point to start this mobile short-form video platforms. And actually, at first, we worried about this competition, but we found that this long-form market is still growing, but very, very small. But this short-form increased very fast. Yeah. And also, their competition is not like direct competition. They help each other because we call this short to long. That means short form, someone like to see this short form content, and then this drives this long form content consumption. So actually in Baidu, we also help each other.
And so China's not one market. It's so huge. It has different tier 1, 2, 3 cities. It has very urban centers now, and it has very rural centers. Where has the growth come from? And are people using these platforms differently, or how are you finding the usage of the platform across the different markets in China?
Yes. Basically, long-form platforms are kind of started from urban area, like first-tier city or second-tier city. But these mobile platforms started from rural areas, like third or fourth, fifth tier cities. And some platforms have different start, like Kuaishou started from actually from rural areas. But Douyin started from first-tier or second-tier cities. It's an urban area. So different platforms started from different areas. Yeah.
And in your presentation, you mentioned that it's such a rapid growth, and it's a very recent sort of trend. There's been an explosion in the number of apps, rapid video usage growth on these mobile apps. Is it reaching saturation? Is there a point where the growth will slow down? Will there be too many players in the market?
Yeah, actually, there are too many players now, still increasing, but some apps are died and replaced. But still, I think more than 100 apps are there. But the interesting thing is, this long-form market is very stable, but short-form platforms are still growing. A number of active users of Douyin, Kuaishou is still growing. We think that was kind of the highest point, but they are still breaking the record and growing. And even for us, like how can immediately a short form also still growing. So I think this is kind of, now it's video era, and everything becomes video-centric, right? And video-based. So I think this growth will go on. And interesting thing, other number, I saw that more than 1 billion users lives in rural area, and the penetration rate is also not so high in some product. But everyone in the world needs YouTube and Netflix like product. But in China, this balance is still not good. So I think there is still room for growth.
And Ivy, you work with the creators in China and creators outside of China. So you've worked across both of the platforms, including all these emerging Chinese platforms and then other global and regional platforms. Do you see the trends across the Chinese-speaking markets are similar? And beyond that, how are you seeing the kind of the trends?
I see a very different trends in China and overseas. Like particularly, I think it's like the business model and the monetization model are so different. So in China, everyone is really focusing on like how they can build their fan base, and then how can they monetize through the fan base. But for the creator out there, they are very reliant on like big platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and then all the major platforms out there. They're really focusing on B2B model, which is like the advertising model. So that's make like the creator mindset so different, because like in China, all the creator spending a lot of time engaging with their audience to make sure that they are willing to like pay for virtual gift or buy the items that they are recommended. So like I have like a guy creator in China. He has only like 500,000 fan base. So in China, he like classified as a small creator already. It's like with 500,000. But what he's doing is like he's actually selling lipsticks to his fan base, because like most of like his fan base is like female at the age of like 18 to 25. So they are looking for like males' recommendation on what kind of lipstick can be more sexier when they put it on the lips to attract like guys' attention. So like you never look. So like what they are doing is like really engaging to find out the way to make money from the fans, rather than just like relying on like advertising. I think that's like a very different mindset.
And how important is the role of these creators driving the take-up of the platforms, say, for example, in China? And not just the traditional short form that we may be used to when we think of a YouTube short form, but creators of micro content or creators of live streaming channels. So and how do you work with the creators, and how important is that to drive the take-up of the platforms?
So I agree with Seunghae that like in China, like the competition is really high. That's like 100 platforms there. And then honestly, I don't want to say that, but creators have no loyalty to platforms. Like whichever platform help them to make money, they would just go for it. So the competition there is so high, and for them, I think it's like honestly, we and the creator are trying every single way to monetize. So every single dollar is important for us. So like be it at live streaming, last year is so hot in China. Everyone is in live streaming. So, but live streaming in China is very different. So like why live streaming is doing so well in China, one of the major reasons is most of the teenager or Gen Z and Gen Y, they are the one child in the family. They have nobody to talk to. So they have to look into live streaming in order to engage. So they are willing to pay a lot in order to get attention. So that's a very good way that we can make money through live streaming. And then at the same time, they are like selling a lot of products, so they can make e-commerce revenue. But the trend is going now to like micro content. But micro content is really hard to monetize, honestly. So it's like only 6 to 30 seconds. So like you cannot do much there by selling a product. So the trend is going to micro content, but the monetization way is not flowing there. So that's where we have like a very difficult position like, or situation with the platform. Like the platform are pushing micro content because the consumer want it. But where's the money coming from is like not really there. So it's really hard that we follow the trend, but the money is not following that soon. So we are still like, in China, we're still really focusing on like doing live streaming, e-commerce content, and then outside we doing the same like by creating longer content in order to generate more advertising revenue.
So moving from some of the lower cost content like micro content to some of the most expensive content.
Yeah.
Ivan, La Liga is, you're responsible for a number of markets in the region, but two very interesting ones are Japan and Korea. They've got very high speed mobile data usage. How are you seeing the adoption of mobile video in those markets given the data speeds, and how does that help provide an opportunity for you to approach the sport in a maybe fresh way, tapping some of that demand?
Well, for us, from the rights holder perspective, you can see that Japan and Korea are still way ahead of the curve, compared to the other markets. We're talking that historically speaking, we always had to rely a lot on the broadcasters, and nowadays is where we're really having an opportunity to identify, we're developing our own OTT platform at La Liga, and then that can help us, to have a better understanding on the consumption behavior in these markets. And we're looking at markets like Japan, where the J League was the first league ever, to sold their rights, on OTT, and we're working with DAZN, a very OTT focus, a broadcaster, and same as Sport TV in Korea. So for us, it's a great opportunity to have a better understanding on the consumption behavior of the fans in this part of the world, and then also we're trying to identify what is the best way to support, our broadcasters and the different platforms that we work with our streaming content, to see how we can get into the mobile phone, because it's the biggest, trend right now in these markets.
And that kind of leads us nicely into a conversation around content. So traditionally with sports, it's been very live event driven. That's the nature of the whole sports experience. But there's a lot of other stuff around the game as well. The game around the game, the highlights, the analysis. How are your OTT streaming apps enabling you to kind of expand that fan experience for sports?
Yeah, so live content still, it's the more demanded content. But obviously we are aware that our fans are every time demanding more highlights and also even a delay. So we are working, very close with our broadcasters always to try to identify what other platforms are available in those markets. So in Japan, we work, also with the likes of Soccer Kim, to try to identify how we can work on live streaming events and live commentary. So last year we had some series of events, on live commentary that worked very well. But also in Korea, we're trying to work with Neighbor, for all the highlights demand that is content that is demanded in the market. So depending on the market, we try to always respect, our relationship with the broadcasters, but also at the same time we try to identify how we can bring our product, our content closer to the fans.
And we heard that, with the different types of content, and for example in China, micro content sometimes gets driven by gifting business models and other business models we haven't seen elsewhere. How are you seeing the business model around sports evolving? Is it still very subscription ad driven, or are you seeing any new revenue streams emerging? Anything that you can explore?
It's still very subscription driven, but also depending on the market, it could still be ad sales or licensing. I think licensing is picking up.
Right.
For us, is probably the way to go, especially if we talk about these two markets. But in the end, we are flexible, and we are depending on where the opportunity or the platform that we're working with. It's always we're open to consider.
To follow the money.
Yeah,
follow the money.
much. Yeah.
Seunghae, you were mentioning the different types of content. Can you talk a little bit about different platforms? Short length, micro content, medium length, sort of short form. You have the long form. Is it just the length of the content that changes, or are you seeing different trends in the type of content, the content creation, and the creative individuals or the creative enterprises you work with? How is that changing now that you have the platform with such scale?
Okay, so long form platforms majorly deals with the kind of scripted and drama, movie, and this kind of OGC type contents, and short form, especially micro platforms, like to majorly their contents are UGC, but supported by some agency or some like small MCN, love this kind of company back this system. And in the middle, like real short form contents, we have all spectrum of these creators from UGC and PGC and OGC. So we believe we are just kind of a YouTube-like platform, and so broadcasting company provides us their OGC contents, drama and movies, and PGC provides us their some professionally generated contents, and YouTube is also there. And the length of contents are, this long format just long, and we have from majorly 3 minutes to 15 minutes, but we also had more than 1 minute or 40 minutes content. So everything's are here in this short form, and how canvas you got like this platform. And this UGC platform majorly still less than 1 minute. And the genres are UGCs are majorly entertainment style, and this is kind of a killing time app in China majorly. So people like to watch some prank video or some comedy video or some like this. And our short form platforms, as I show you this slide, different area people like different contents. And now majorly our users still like to watch short form contents of movie and drama and variety shows, but this is changed very fast, because last year most of contents are consuming this, but this year more vlog like contents also consumed a lot. And so I think this will have many changes in the future.
Can I?
I was just going to ask you, Ivy, you work with a lot of the creators inside China as well. How are you seeing that, not just what they're creating, but also their self-business model working? How's that working right now?
So let me go back to like the length regarding to like micro content on short form and long form. So I think basically it's not just the length; it's like the format different. It's like micro content is now very log driven. It's very personal. It's like 10 to 30 seconds. Like you just like shoot something like you don't. Shoot something really silly, I can say, like, and then it's like people make fun of it. But like those micro content is really resonate with people, so it's really engaging. That's why like the audience really like it. And then for the short form, it's like 3 to 5 minutes. It's getting more to the premium level. It's getting very vertical. So most of the creators, they do really well on short form. It's like either they're very specialists in one area, be it as like a travel creator or like a sports creator or a game creator. They are getting more into like the expert area. And then the long form is always like the premium level. So I think it's like the format is really like, it's not just the length. I think the format is so different. So and then I forget what is your question already.
So it was so the creators create different type of formats for different sort of platforms. How are they monetizing?
Yeah.
How are they making money? And then for you who support creators, how do you share in that kind of monetization?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question. It's like, so creator on YouTube starting to create content in longer and longer time. They used to be like 3 to 5 minutes, but now they create content into like 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and 15 minutes. The only reason is like because they can get more advertising revenue by creating longer and longer, because they can have like a mid-roll and then an end roll of like advertising ads on it. So it's like basically quite different with the user experience, but because they need to monetize, so they have to create much longer. So, but in China, like the platform keep pushing creators to create more mini-sized content. So, but then, as I said, like mini content in China is really hard to monetize. So we have to still focusing on like the 2C model, which is like what I'm saying is like the live streaming things or the e-commerce things. So like that can be shorter, because like once you have the fans engage with you, you can like easily sell a product in a minute. So like the monetization model still in China is very focusing to see, and then it's like for outside of China, still very focusing on the traditional way to make money is like the 2B advertising, branded content, sponsorship kind of revenue.
And this is, I guess, the next question is related to that, and for really both you and Seunghae, which is, the platforms are quite young. They're only just a few years old in many cases. Mm-hmm. But they're getting huge followings. huge fan base for some of the creators. Do you see the potential for genuine IP creation, the kind of IP that media companies have and work across multiple platforms? So not just on the platform, but e-commerce, events. Are you seeing the emergence of any IP creation rather than a fleeting experience?
Yeah, so you are the expert on that from Disney. So I will say, one of the major things I see in China for our creator is each of the creator have 1 million fan base or 10 million fan base. But the honest feedback is how many of the fan base are real, and then how many of them are fake. So even our creator will buy fake fans that we don't know. So we have to look at how engaged the fan is to our creator. So that's where we are very focusing on doing e-commerce revenue, because if you have a fan who is willing to buy your stuff, it means that you have the power to influence your fan base, which can later on develop into an IP that they can resonate with their fan base later on. So we are trying on different things, except selling e-commerce. We have our fans, we have meet and greets, and then we also have some creator, they doing pre-sale for their concert, and then we have a creator in Taiwan now doing pre-sale for their movie production. So fans already buy ticket for the movie that they create 2 years later. So those are the things that we are trying to make sure that we can make sure the real fan base and the creator can monetize to the next level that is more systematic in the ways you guys are doing, that we can create IP whether as with the creator or with the IP that create by the creator, or as the merchandise creates by the creator. So that's what we are moving towards.
So it's a trend we're moving towards. Seunghae, most of your focus right now is a platform, but we've seen other, maybe the longer form platforms like Netflix started life as a platform and now talks about being a studio as well as a platform. Amazon has Amazon Prime Studios. So we've seen some of the platforms become studios because they wanted to start participating in the IP process. Very early days, but how much potential do you see, and is that something that you may end up moving towards, your version of a studio?
Actually, I've understand well about this Chinese market, and she really strongly do this business, but I also added some of our platforms idea and why we do these kind of things, and also I will ask answer about your question. Okay, so basically, when you think about China's video platforms, I recommend you think about 2013's YouTube. Because at that time, MCN ecosystem just started, right? And actually at that time, this kind of MCN or media companies does not generate a lot of money from YouTube business, right? And now, when I started my slide, I told you, China's YouTube, there were no such platform, at least before 2016. And a lot of MCN or media company started their business before 2016. Maybe they cooperate with the iQIYI, Youku, Tudou. And that time's cooperation is majorly selling your IP, right? Or original contents. But after 2016, this short-form platform has a lot of user base, and mostly micro video platform.
Yeah.
But as Ivy told, these platforms does not share their revenue because they still had no advertising revenue.
Yeah.
So this kind of history just started 1 or 2 years ago. And compared to YouTube's 14 years history, less than 2 years, this system, it's like a baby, right? So I recommend do not expect too much from this Chinese market because micro video, although there are a lot of users, but they just started making their advertising network from last year, and they started branded content this year, and we started fan commerce and live or kind of super-like cheering system. All this started just 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So some early MCN entered the Chinese market, had a lot of issues, and they did not generate a lot of money from this cooperation. So we platform know very well about these difficulties. And our platform side, we also had this big issues because too many platforms. But now we believe micro video is just a tool. Yeah. Although Tencent struggled to make Wish bigger and bigger, but still they're a big tool. And long form very mature. So IP corporation majorly should find them. And our short form and micro video hope to do this. But this platform characteristics is not so appropriate to this original content generation. Because micro video, you can make 2 or 3 minutes vertical original content, but I think it does not work because basically their user expectation is just short and funny or very stimulating. So a middle area, but we started more late. So our system is not mature to this micro video. So I think this issue is kind of everybody's issue. I think if you want to do something in China, platform has an intention to do something together with our MCN or our creators. Because we know YouTube also experienced 14 years. So we really hope to do this together. And finally, actually, there are some IPs, or some has more than 10 or 50 million fan base, and they become very popular, like Papi Zhang or other IPs. But they also just popular in less than 1 or 2 years. So, and the problem is, in China's TV broadcasting company does not want to provide them many chance to them. There are a lot of celebrities in China. So I think this. Our creator become like a YouTube celebrity needs more time, like 2 or 3 years. But this year, I think like 2013 of YouTube, maybe next year, kind of 2015 or 2016 of YouTube. So this growth is very fast. And so I think we can do this together. Okay.
Yeah. So people say MCN is dying, or like the business model.
Well, in the US,
bad.
yes.
But then it's actually we are too early. It's not that we are dying. So
but we really hope to have you, like, and other. Yeah.
Well, I think what you're describing is actually the first wave of MCNs, the global MCNs, relied on a single stream business model primarily. I think what we're hearing here is that there are multiple streams of business models that platforms and creators can work together on. So early days, maybe short form content is better lends itself to IP creation than the micro content. As we look ahead, we see various things which will accelerate the usage of video. One of those is hopefully the rollout of 5G. 5G in a lot of the markets we're talking about will come not very far away, and it might have an impact on services, speeds, video being one of those. Maybe I thought I'd just start with Ivan. You know, the sports experience, especially the live event, it's data rich. What are the opportunities you see for 5G helping the growth of the streaming sports environment?
Well, for us, it's all about getting La Liga closer to the fans worldwide. So, of course, 5G is going to enable to get like all the information faster, to the fans and to the users. So we see that it's gonna definitely help, to improve the experience, especially with the feed, bandwidth, issues that sometimes you may face in some markets. And obviously we're gonna have, an opportunity to have, more La Liga content on the mobile phone. I think it opens also a lot of opportunities for us, and definitely in the end, it's gonna help us to keep, pushing, our content and getting closer to the fans and having a better, experience, engaging with them.
So I guess the mobile experience for enjoying live events, how are you integrating that part where it's a slightly more personal experience than the traditional gather around a TV either at home or in another location to celebrate that? How are you factoring that into how you actually present your stream?
Yeah, so again, it's back, the way football is consumed nowadays is changing. It's not as traditionally that people doesn't spend 90 minutes. Most of the people it has so many things to look at. So we have an opportunity here to cater for all these fans that sometimes they want to have an opportunity to just consume highlights, or sometimes even have the phone handy for some of this content. But definitely is a great opportunity for us, and we need to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and obviously there's going to be a lot of opportunities presented. Ivy, a lot of your creators creating short form, that lends itself very well to the current platform, but as we get more data speeds, is that going to be more demand for short form, or are they going to be finding some of those creators aspiring to push into long form? How do you see this sort of playing out, that not so much the 5G technology, but what it enables you and your creators to be able to do?
I will see 5G will help the creator to create longer form content, but more engaging, interactive content. So it will be basically helping live entertainment, as you said. So instead of creator don't have big live events like La Liga, but we have engaging live variety show.
Yep.
That's some of our creators are already trying it. They do a 1 hour show by engaging with the audience. So I think moving forward, the content will go back to longer and longer again, because once you have that kind of longer content, one side you can engage with audience by selling stuff and getting virtual items, but you also can get sponsorship, and then you got product placement coming in. So we have one IP with several multiple revenue stream at the same time. So I think that will be something that we envision coming along, and then we have been trying this year as well. But because the speed is still slow, so it's not doing quite well. But next year when 5G is coming, that should be a trend. And the second one will be VR. Everyone's trying to do that a few years back, but the timing is too early. But now with 5G is coming, so I think it will go back to VR and AR content.
So Seunghae, I'm going to combine the question with not just about 5G, but 5G and data, and particularly for you, the use of AI. Because I just came back from a recent trip to China, and many of the digital media companies are aggressively pushing into using AI to enhance the process from creation through to actual sort of distribution, monetization. How are you looking at these trends to push forward your services, to accelerate the services? How are you using AI already?
Okay, so this 4G era just started, but we platform has a lot of things to do because AI is a big challenge to us, and also this 5G is also a big challenge. And we started kind of deep learning based AI-based video technology, and we showed you some motion transfer or something like deepfake, but using a deep action. And so a lot of this AI-based video technology will be started, but this requires a lot of research and development. So I think it needs some time. But some very basic point, like a B2B service, we create mass customized, automatically generated videos, like weather, news forecast, and other contents. We can do this, and we started a cooperation with in China's newspaper company, and we will make their news with AI system. And for this 5G era, I think there will be more video-centric and video-based service strategy is important, because now we just need a very small number of data required to maintain our video service. But I think 1 or 2 years later, maybe several terabytes cloud service required to back up your maybe videos, personal videos, and also seamless live video service. And seamless uploading. You don't need to upload your video. Maybe directly you take your videos and directly upload in your cloud. And then maybe our AI just automatically create other funny video or vlog videos for you. And this kind of era will become. But the problem is in our platform, really a lot of things to do to make this real. Yeah.
And Ivy, look, you work with the creators themselves, but the platforms are already experimenting with AI. Yes, it's early days, and there's a lot of research that needs to be done, but many of the Chinese platforms in particular are experimenting in content creation. How are you working with creators to try and equip them for that next wave? And what's your view on the potential opportunities and challenges of the AI and the automation as part of the creative process?
if on data level, AI is not really helping us that much because the platform is really reluctant to share their data to us. So we basically in China don't get too much data, and then to see the real what's happening there. So that's the major challenge that we are facing right now, particularly in China. But I think with AI coming, what we are looking at is that we're starting to create virtual creator. So someone is totally virtual. It's happening in Japan. Japan has a lot of virtual YouTuber. They are doing really well. So they are totally someone at the back, but it looks really stunning and pretty. So I think that may be the next way for us, rather than really managing the creator that's not always listening to us. We may create something that they can 100% listen to us. So I think that may be an interesting trend that we are moving towards.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Because actually we already started providing our big data to our creators, because recently which is the hot issue or topic. So our creators even know this kind of data, maybe they can create a better contents. But we found this, we started providing this content, but still we have need to a lot of improvements.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so
we're
don't worry about that.
To
we want to share this data.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Negotiation going on.
Yeah, we need it. It's good to form partnership,
Yeah.
Ivan, how important is data on your fans, how they consume? Is that one of the reasons why you want to go OTT, or is that just that you're following the audience?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I said before, before, traditionally we never had all this information. It always stayed with the broadcaster. So for us, we decided to explore in Spain, launching our own OTT. We work with all the different national associations, sports national associations in Spain. So last year we had over 1,500 pieces of content in our OTT out of 100 different competitions and for 40 different sports. So from all at the sport that everybody can think of, but also some niche sports. So that help us to gather a lot of data about the consumers and try to understand better what is the consumption behavior, and then try to communicate with them and try to also define what is the best strategy. We can have this information, we can interact with our broadcasters, with the fans themselves, and then also little by little we started in Spain, but the idea is to go internationally. Now the platform is available worldwide, but in several languages, but the idea is to start including content from different parts of the world to make it appealing for everyone. In terms of monetization, still we started this season for the second tier league games to collect some cash from the fans, of the consumers, but the idea is to little by little try to come up with different pieces of content that is going to be appealing for a global audience, and also find different ways to monetize the content.
Well, look, it seems like streaming is definitely the new normal. And while there's been huge growth in China and growth in Japan and Korea, it's still quite early days, but it seems like a lot of opportunity. And what's great is it's still driven very much by the content and the creators that help drive that kind of take-up of the platforms and services, and that, the monetization. While early days, there are multiple revenue streams that can help underwrite that growth. So please join me in thanking Seunghae, Ivy, and Ivan.
Good one.